Coming up, it's live from my office with special guest Ed Mann and a very cool jazz album. And believe me, there are some jazz albums that aren't so cool. It's all brought to you in part by the Rouse Center for the Arts, with a school that can help teach you how to get on stage. For instance, let's say you always wanted to do stand-up. Well, guess what? Our friend John DeCoste is teaching stand-up coming up very soon at the Rouse. John joins me now. Can I get into this class?
No.
Okay, so it's for people with actual talent.
It's for people who kind of are funny and know what they're doing.
Well, that's not me.
Matter of fact, doesn't it say on the website, no Steve Cochran, except Steve Cochran?
It's actually got a picture of my head with a slash through it.
That's what I thought.
It's called Sit Down to Stand Up, and there's a link to it at the Rouse Center for the Arts website. Go there, click on it, and sign up. 6:30 to 8:30, you're doing this, what, every Wednesday night?
Every Wednesday from February 15th to, I think, April 4th.
Well, that's fun, right?
It is fun. And you know what? I've been involved in many comedy classes really across the country because all the clubs I work, they've asked me to plug in and talk to people and whatever. And it's been fun. This is the first one I'm doing on my own, basically. And I'm really looking forward to it because people can come and for whatever reason they feel they need to learn either stand up or just, be comfortable in front of people speaking, whether it's at work, they have to give presentations. Sure. This is going to help them. And we're going to talk about writing. We're going to talk about a little history of stand-up comedy, why they're in it, who their influences are. And the best part is we're going to help one another get through this. We're going to have special guests come and talk to them, just like I did on the road. And the best part is at the end, main stage, they graduate in front of their friends and family. It's not open to the public. Their friends and family, they get to perform main stage at the Row and do stand-up comedy. How fun is that?
That's when they're going to find out if their family really loves them.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
It's the Rouse Center School for the Arts. You go to the website, rousecenter.org, R-A-U-E center.org, and scroll to the bottom of the page for the School for the Arts, and you'll see it right there. Sit down to stand up and sign up. I think you're going to love it. John DeCoste, thank you.
Oh, no, thank you, Steve. Thanks so much.
And go to that rousecenter.org website or call them up with questions, 815-356-9212. And now, live from my office. On today's exciting episode of Live from My Office, it's cool because the topic's cool, the guy's cool, the guest I'm talking about, not me. And you're cool to want to hear more about jazz. You shouldn't be intimidated by jazz. That's why I love what my friend Ed Mann says in this episode. He talks about accessible jazz. Not jazz that's just so cool, you just feel like you're left out. No, jazz you can get there with. And he's got a brand new album out with his friends, literally. It's called The Man Sextet, and it's The Man Sextet Standard Issue, featuring the great Patrice Rushen. How old am I? As a disc jockey, I played Forget-Me-Nots, which was a big hit for her back in the day. And she's great. She's great. So here's what you're going to hear. You're going to hear Ed Mann and I, along with Jane Klaus, because we also recorded a piece of this for the radio show. And you're going to hear us talking about the album and about Ed's inspiration and about jazz. And at the end of this episode, we're going to play a couple of clips, a couple of cuts, actually, full cuts from the album. We'll reference those in the interview as well. So I'm glad you're here. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to Live from My Office. And drop me an email with any notes you might have, anything you want to say to me. You can do that at thecochranshow@gmail.com, the COCHRAN show@gmail.com. And you can also, of course, and I hope you will, listen to the radio show every weekday morning between 5:30 and 9 on the Big 890 WLS in Chicago or anywhere in the world on your smart devices or by streaming it. So I'm in your ear in a lot of different ways, and I appreciate you not swatting at your head because of that. And if you are, you don't have to tell me I'm sensitive. It would hurt my feelings. So let's get on with it. It's the great Ed Mann, along with me, Steve Cochran, and Jane Klaus joins in on this as well, on this episode of Live from My Office. All right, now on Live from My Office and the Big 89, it's my friend Ed Mann. Hello, buddy.
Hey, how you doing, Steve?
I'm great. And by the way, Jane, this is a real thrill for Ed because we started out together in radio. Ed used to be a hell of a disc jockey, though he'd never admit it, became a big shot executive, one of the few bosses I ever loved. And there's only two or three on that list.
You mean the one that didn't fire you?
He never got the chance.
He didn't work for me, so don't worry.
Well, we were partners on a couple things.
You still like each other. That's interesting.
Yeah, but Ed has had a secret life for years. He is a great jazz artist.
Amazing.
An amazing jazz artist. And he plays out all the time for good times, but he has an album that he's put out. And this is the advantage of being my friend. Let's get on with the plugs because this thing is plug worthy and people ought to get it. It's the Ed Mann Sextet, right?
Yeah, we call it actually the Mann Sextet, and the album is called Standard Issue. And it's a labor of love and, well, labor. I mean, it really took a lot of work, but it's accessible jazz is the way I like to explain it. It's something that people I think can really understand. It's not some off hard bop thing that you have to sit there and go, wow, is that a flatted fifth? Is that a sharp 11th? It's just music that you can really enjoy, and it's goes right through you. Like you say, Steve, it's something you can do while you're not drinking.
Right.
Which you don't do.
Right. Well, but here's the thing that I think is a really important phrase you just brought out. And Jane, you can speak to this. Accessible jazz. Is that the wall that people put up when they hear jazz? They go, I just can't get there.
In my mind, yeah. I mean, there's an old clip on, I think, the old TV show Scrubs, if I'm not mistaken, where somebody goes, jazz, what's that? It's all wrong notes. Play the right notes. And I laugh about that every time I think about it because it's an inside joke that we have when we have rehearsals, and I play in a number of different big bands and small bands here in town in Los Angeles. And it's like, hey, I missed that, I missed that change there on that last bar. They're like, it's jazz, man. You're always a half step away. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah, sure. But for the accessible part of it, for the novices, for people who just love music, just to listen to the album that you put out can really take you to another place. And I think that's what the beauty of it is, that you're giving to everybody and making it accessible.
Oh, thank you, Jane. I mean, that's the idea. I didn't want it to be something that was so far out as jazz can often be. And turn people off. And jazz shouldn't ever turn people off. It's exciting music, and there's people doing really adventurous things out there. But this is not that. This is something that I think people should just dig.
I dig it. Yeah. I listen to it while working out, by the way. You're drinking ice water. Some people are doing crossword puzzles.
You got to have a glass that clanks.
Yeah. It's just such great music, and you get into the vibe, and it's just cool.
Oh, you guys are so sweet. Thank you. And I hope people enjoy it. We'll have to talk about where you can get it.
Oh, look how you did. This is the radio guy in Ed. He goes, before we run out of time. Guy. Yeah, as a matter of fact, how can you get the Mann Sextet's latest album, which is called?
Oh, Steve, I'm so glad you asked. There's a website called mansextet.com. Very simple. MANN Sextet.com, and you can buy the CD there. I urged buying the CD because there's liner notes and pictures.
Yeah.
I know people can't put them in their new cars anymore. Bit of a shame because that way you can read this liner while you're driving. Wait a minute. No, that doesn't work.
No, you can't in LA and Chicago because nobody's moving in traffic. So once traffic stops, you'll be fine.
Nobody's moving on the Kennedy today. So, but you can always have something there, and you can keep it. Streaming's fine, and you can always look it up. Generally, I would think either under my name, Ed Mann. There's another Ed Mann out there, so don't go to his stuff. He was the percussionist, for example. It's the Mann Sextet featuring Patrice Rushen, and the name of the album is Standard Issue. I know finding things on streaming services can be difficult sometimes, but that's about the best way to find it. So you get it either way.
And by the way, stick around after we finish talking with Ed. If you're listening on the podcast live from my office, I'm going to play some of these cuts in full. But in the meantime, let me give him a sample of a couple of things.
Sample.
And then you can go buy the album, you cheapskates. Tell me about Bouncing with Bud.
Bouncing with Bud was written actually by and for Bud Powell. I think there's a co-writer on it as well, and it's just a lively little tune. It features Dan Heffernan on tenor sax on that one, and it's just bouncy. It's just a fun tune to listen to. I think for working out, it's great.
All right,
it's just a lot of fun.
So, and you explain the breakout of the band here. I'm Bouncing with Bud. You are playing what, and who else should get credits?
Yes, there's a lot of people to give credit to on this. I am the trumpet player and flugelhorn player on this album. The tenor sax player is Dan Heffernan. Mike Parlett also does some solos, who also engineered, mixed, and mastered it. He was absolutely wonderful. His studio is terrific, talented productions. Let's see. We've got Kevin O'Neill on bass on a couple of cuts. Jeff Takaguchi plays generally throughout the album on bass. The great Sam Kestenholz,
wow.
my German brother from another mother, is the drummer. Let's see, who am I? Our music man, Paul McDonald, who arranged 7 of those cuts. Paul McDonald on keyboards, who's just a genius arranger. One of the great standard arrangers. He's really terrific.
And that's a unique skill. To take a standard and do an arrangement on it, sure.
It really is. To take a standard that most people, at least in the jazz world now, and make it unique and, just give it a new twist. And then Dwayne Benjamin, last but absolutely not least, on trombone. He also arranged Inner City Blues, the Marvin Gaye tune, which I urge everyone to download or to listen to on a CD. And his original tune, Takeout, is on the CD.
Yeah, well, since you brought up Inner City Blues, how did you connect with Patrice Rushen?
Patrice Rushen and I met back in the late 70s, believe it or not. I had a band, like a disco funk band, and she rehearsed right after we did, or perhaps right around the time.
Before I knew that.
I'm a big fan. I love you. You're terrific. And we didn't really keep in touch until about, I want to say 7-8 years ago. And I was co-hosting an internet, jazz radio show, and she came. And we reminded each other of our, ancient relationship. And just kept in touch periodically.
Oh, that's cool.
And then this came up, I said, gosh, I've got to have Patrice on this. She's like Herbie Hancock. I've got to have her.
Yeah.
And she immediately came in. Do you want me to do another one?
Oh, that's excellent.
Like, sure, do Bombo In. So she did our Latin tune on there and just nailed it, both on acoustic piano, which she's not necessarily known for. She's more of a Fender Rhodes gal. And but I thought, well, let's do something a little different. Let's give her a little more of a sweet touch, which is what the acoustic piano can do.
So we'll give you a little bit of Inner City Blues after we wrap up the podcast part of this. But here's the previously mentioned Bouncing with Bud. Now, I hear them in full when you buy your own copy of the album. But in the meantime, like I said, we'll play the ones we talk about in full on the podcast. It's mansextet.com. And it is bouncy. Yes, Jay.
It's so bouncy. And can I ask you this? Because it's so great. And the music is wonderful. And you could just groove to it. You're playing the trumpet. What is it? You've been playing the trumpet for forever, what I'm reading in your bio. What is it about the trumpet that you love? Like, do you wake up and go, I can't wait to play the trumpet because...
Well, you see, I don't know about waking up to play the trumpet. That's about the last thing I want to do when I wake up.
Oh.
Nobody wants to hear a trumpet when they wake up. That's the Army.
Reveille.
It is the Army, yeah.
Reveille. I think Wynton Marsalis always said, somebody said, well, what do you do, before noon? And he's like, I don't play the trumpet. It's like,
so you really don't love it, actually.
No, he loves it. He loves it after 12.
No, don't get me wrong. I love it. But what first got me into it was my dad, who's not a musician, but he loved Louis Armstrong. He loved Dixieland. And I would come home and to be blasting on the speakers. My mother would be furious, who was actually the musician in the family. And but she was classical. And I'd listen to this stuff, and I'm like, what is that sound? I mean, what is that sound? And then one day they got me a trumpet, and I blew into it. And immediately, I still remember the day it happened. I was in the 4th grade. And my parents' eyes lit up, and my eyes lit up, and I went, wow, well, okay. So that was that, and I just kept going. Took a long break, but I came back.
No, and your love of it is why you've been out doing it for as long as you have. And if you weren't so successful in broadcasting, you already would have been, a jazz artist of the highest order, and you never would have met me. Things happen out for a reason.
Things for a reason.
Yeah, we never would have fallen in love.
I didn't think I had the chops back then, and maybe I didn't. LA's very competitive, and broadcasting reared its beautiful head, and I jumped right in, and it's the way I've lived for a long, long time. It's really a great love of mine. I love broadcasting, and I still work at it. But music is my heart. That's the soul.
It's very cool. Oh, and by the way, there's a story behind Lullaby Bye, which I want you to tell. We'll play you a clip of this as well. And then the folks on the radio, again, get the Man Sextet at mansextet.com. And you'll get your copy of Standard Issue. As I always say, you're careless, you'll lose one. Download 3 or 4 extra, share them with your friends.
Yeah, you can always find a download somewhere, but the mansextet.com is where you buy the CD.
And buy the CD there. That's right. Yeah, everything you just said is true. Lullaby Bye, what's the backstory?
Lullaby Bye came about, I was watching, it was like I think a John Lennon documentary on how we kind of came up with Imagine, post-Beatles.
Okay.
And I used to compose some, and I pulled out a keyboard, and I started noodling around on it, pulled out my horn, and I came up with this tune, and I thought of an idea. My kids are now older. Steve knows they're 24 and 21 now.
That's crazy.
And there was a time, maybe about, it must be 7, 8 years ago. They did not want to hear stories anymore. They did not want to hear lullabies anymore. They were done with that. Just let us go to sleep. Goodbye, good night, Dad. That was the end of it. And I thought, well, that's goodbye, Lullaby Bye. I was like, whoa, what was that? And so it's Lullaby Bye. You can't do the lullabies anymore.
That's a great story.
It was a little bit melancholy for me.
Yeah.
Happy for them. They were thrilled not to hear them.
It's sweet, though.
Yeah, but that's the feeling that you get, I think, with this piece.
Yeah, and when he told me the story, it made me cry. So I'm sure I'm a sap, but that's how good it is. Here's a clip from Lullaby Bye. If you've ever stood in the doorway with the light backlighting the room and looked at your kids sleeping,
that's what it sounds like.
That's the song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the emotion I wanted to evoke with it. And the other thing about the CD, and don't be alarmed, there's no vocals. A lot of people want the vocals, and it's like no. You should be able to speak and sing through your instrument, and that's how we really feel with this.
And you do it well. You really do speak and sing with the instruments.
Yeah, you ought to be proud of it, bud. I know you are, and I hope you are, at least I should say.
Thanks to both of you very much. It's very sweet. Thank you.
In the last couple of minutes we have here, Ed Mann, does this spur you? You and I've talked regularly. We always talk, but I know how much work it's been just to get this album done, along with your regular life and things. But I don't think people understand how much goes into writing, composing, arranging, doing an album, figuring out what the distributorship's going to be. And now, that's what always amazes me with kids coming up now, how they get seen, discovered, and how they get work out. So it's like birthing a baby, huh?
Really is. If you try to do it right, it is. A lot of people just throw stuff out there, and it's not mixed well, and it has uneven sound, and then people don't want it. They grow tired of it because it doesn't have a consistency, and I wanted that. And that started with playing live, and we just did a ton of gigs. We got to really know each other, and the arrangements had to be right on the money. I picked the ones I thought would be best for the CD, and we began work. Getting in the studio was a chore. But it was really a chore at COVID time. So we had to bring people in individually. We had to mix it remotely, where my friend Mike, would be on the board. I'd be here in the Valley, in San Fernando Valley. He was in town. And we do this online. Then he got sick. So that got put off.
Sure.
It's fine now. And then for a while I got sick. So it was like, when are we going to get this thing, finished? And it was almost 4 years since we started doing it. It should have taken maybe one. But, it is a ton of work, and but
worth
the detail that you try to put into it, you can generally pay off. And people seem to be liking it, and I'm really happy with it.
Well, you should be.
It's really great.
mansextet.com. If you're listening to the podcast live from my office, stick around after the break. We're going to play the songs we talked about in full. And Ed will no longer be on the line. I'll talk about it behind his back.
Behind your back. How about that?
So,
we'll do that.
And then you can tell us the real story about you guys, how you met.
He's the best. And I got to tell you, I've been lucky and blessed as Ed has in this life. You meet a lot of people. He's one of my favorite people. And
well, it goes without saying that you are too, Steve.
So congrats, bud. Super proud of you. And get it, kids. Get your copy. Oh, are you going to?
You're gonna love it.
You're gonna get so lucky with this for Valentine's Day too if you wait.
Oh yeah,
Man, Sextet.
That's a good. You can just put that on in the background
night
with a little
at home.
champagne.
Fantastic. Mansextet.com. Ed Mann, thank you, buddy.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you guys so much.
I love that. I love that. He's a good man, and he obviously makes great music. I want to play a couple of songs for you from the album. First up is Marvin Gaye's Inner City Blues, featuring the lovely and talented Patrice Rushen from the Man Sextet album. Hear it now on Live from My Office. And how about one more before we go? This is the closest I get to being a disc jockey anymore. You heard Ed talk about the story of Lullaby Bye. And if you're a dad like I am, or a mom, this one might make you choke up a little bit. As Ed said, he did this when he knew that lullabies wouldn't work for his little boys anymore, who are now young men. Lullaby Bye, all part of Ed Mann and the Mann Sextet's standard issue on Live from My Office. Well, there you go. A cool, kind of different episode of Live from My Office. I hope you get that album. And I appreciate your support of me. And I certainly appreciate what Ross Cochran does, the executive producer of Live from My Office, getting it done so you can hear this show. Again, drop me an email, thecochranshow@gmail.com anytime. Thank you to our sponsor, the Rouse Center for the Arts. Go sign up for the John DeCoste stand-up class, and maybe they'll kick me off my own tour and put you in there instead. Thank you, Ross. Thank you, Rao. And thank you for listening. See you next time. And see you on the radio on Live from My Office and the Big 890 WLS. Oh, look at the time. I got to go to bed. I get up so early.
30 years plus on the airwaves. You have turned your dial to me. Now you're tuned into my podcast. It's Live from My Office, Steve. From Ithaca, New York to Carolina South, W. Cochran Steve. From Minneapolis and then Chicago twice, top-rated shows achieved. Sit back, relax, and now listen to my show. When or wherever you are, 'cause you're on the go. A-list celebs with some laughs and great info. Live from my office, the Steve Cochran Podcast Show. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No better place to be. Yeah, 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 yeah. Subscribe and like for free. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Live from my office, Steve. So glad you're with me. It's Live from my office, Steve.
Thank you for listening to Live from My Office, a service of Monkey Run Productions. All rights reserved. The podcast is hosted by Steve Cochran, and it's mixed, edited, and produced by me, Ross Cochran. Steve is available for corporate speaking gigs. He would love to MC your event, and occasionally, he's funny. Thank you for listening. Head to cochranshow.com for more.